It was a sweltering summer afternoon when HOA Karen's latest attack reached an almost comical level of absurdity. My driveway had always been clearly marked, private, and maintained meticulously. Yet Karen somehow decided that a section of it belonged to her, or at least that she could impose her imagined authority over it. That day, I had parked my car near the edge of the driveway after returning from a weekend trip. It was a modest spot, one that had never caused an issue. But Karen, ever vigilant in her self-appointed role as neighborhood enforcer, emerged from her house brandishing a baseball bat. She yelled at me for parking in her spot, gesturing wildly and screaming about trespassing rules she had clearly invented that morning. I stayed calm, observing her theatrics. Karen's moves had become predictable over the years. Intimidation, aggression, and wild accusations. But this time, her plan involved property destruction and physical threats. She swung the bat toward my car, denting the side panel and scratching the paint. The audacity was staggering, but I didn't react impulsively. Reacting emotionally would have played into her hands. Instead, I recorded the entire encounter discreetly, making sure every swing, shout, and threat was documented. As Karen continued her rampage, my mind was already strategizing the perfect response. Karma, after all, has a way of catching up, especially when someone underestimates their target. I calmly walked toward her, smiling, and said, "If you'd like to continue, I'm happy to involve the authorities. You're on private property, and this is illegal." Karen froze for a split second, her fury clashing with the sudden realization that I wasn't intimidated. That pause was all I needed. A few moments later, a neighbor driving by noticed the commotion and stopped. Their presence added immediate social pressure, and Karen's aggression began to falter. She tried to justify her actions, shouting about parking rights and HOA regulations, but her explanations were incoherent, contradictory, and made even less sense to the bystander than to me. Then came the final twist, what I had been preparing behind the scenes. Weeks prior, anticipating Karen's unpredictable behavior, I had set up an alert system on the driveway and property line. As she threatened my car with the bat, a discreet recording captured not only her actions but her voice, threats, and intent. Simultaneously, my home security system sent notifications to my phone and my lawyer. This evidence was airtight, proving harassment, property damage, and trespassing. Karen's face turned pale. She had assumed she could intimidate me, escalate her aggression without consequence, and rely on my restraint. Instead, she had triggered a response that left her exposed legally and socially. Within minutes, I contacted the local authorities and provided the footage, documentation, and witness accounts. By the time the police arrived, Karen was trying to minimize her actions, but the evidence left no room for negotiation. The aftermath was swift. Karen faced fines for property damage and harassment, and the story of her bat-wielding tantrum spread through the neighborhood almost instantly. Neighbors who had previously been wary of her intimidation tactics now saw the truth. Karen's aggression could be countered decisively, and she had finally overstepped. By sunset, my car was repaired, my driveway intact, and my reputation not only preserved but strengthened. Karen, on the other hand, was humiliated and cautious, finally learning that property, patience, and careful documentation are far more effective than brute force or threats. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had tried to inflict damage and assert control, only to discover that every reckless action she took could, and would backfire spectacularly. That day reinforced a lesson I had learned long ago. The most powerful response isn't confrontation. It's preparation, strategy, and the ability to turn someone else's aggression against them. Karen had swung her bat, aiming for my car, but the result was a lesson she would never forget. Arrogance, threats, and entitlement cannot overcome calm intelligence and foresight.